Yes. Good morning. I overslept, so I'm still eating my breakfast now. If you guys don't mind, let me finish my breakfast before I start reading. Not that there's anyone here anyway, but hell yeah. Morning, Mia. Morning. Thank you for being here. I had a rough night. Um, really tired, so I overslept. I'm having sourdough bread with toasted with this thing called mentaiko butter, which is absolutely delicious. It's my breakfast every single day. When I find something that I like to eat, I just eat it every single day, basically. So I'm the type of person who can eat the same thing every day. So I've been eating this sourdough bread diet for like I think probably um at least 2 months now. Yeah, like every single day. Yeah, at least 2 months I've been eating sourdough bread for breakfast. Basically, two slices. Nothing else. No salad, no nothing. Just butter or garlic butter or the mentaiko butter. They are awesome, man. Today we are finishing the book. There's not much pages left. I think I can push through all of them, but I need to eat my breakfast. Finish up my breakfast so that I won't get hungry by the time 2 hours slot ends. So here comes some ASMR chewing session. Can you guys hear that? Man, I'm tired. I'm so tired. It's funny to say that you're tired when you just woke up, but I'm so tired. I think you can hear it from my voice that I'm actually really tired. But nevertheless, thank you for being here with me as always. I really appreciate it. I contemplated canceling this morning, but I wanted to push. Like I told myself if I don't get up and don't do this, I'm going to spend the rest of my day just laying in bed, which is really bad. Don't do that. Um, I've done that. It's not good for your body, not good for your head. But either way, I'm probably going to go back to sleep after I am done with reading this. I don't know. It's like I enjoy doing this. Don't get me wrong. Noodible is like one of the best thing that I could have ever done to keep myself sane. But at the same time, some mornings are just very difficult to get up to. So I'm also eating. Please tell me if you think that it's disgusting to hear me eat my bread while scrolling Instagram. Can't wait to start traveling again. I'm so tired. Oh my god, keep saying that. Jesus Christ, stop it. Oh, must be so annoying to hear that. Hi, chat. I am tired. Man, I don't know what's wrong. Sometimes your body just like give up on you, and you think to yourself, why didn't I do better yesterday? You know? So, live your life without any regrets, guys. Just do your best every single day. One day I'm gonna wake up. Actually, you know what? This may be depressing to say, but I hope I don't wake up one day because that would be so peaceful. Imagine dying in your death. That would be the best death anyone could ask for. You know, not waking up. Like you go to sleep thinking that, oh, I'm gonna do this tomorrow. But you didn't wake up. The last thing you are thinking is that the hopefulness of doing something great tomorrow and the happiness that comes with it. Like the last thing you think about is that, and then you never wake up. That would be the best fucking death ever. You know what I mean? I hope I die like that. Man, I'm dark today. Can't seem to shut myself off from thinking that. My cat is being a bitch right now. He's angry because he doesn't want to be in my room, but there's no choice. Um, we have the cleaners in today, and when they're here, they open the door, and whenever we open the house door, he wants to go out of the house. He was lost for one evening, like I think for almost 12 hours before we found him. He was just like cowering at the 20th floor, being an idiot. My cat is stupid. It doesn't know how he's way to get home. Sorry, I still have 3 slices of bread left, and I'm like chewing while I'm talking, like a savage I am. Neanderthal. Talk to me now. Sourdough bread ASMR. Well, can you guys actually hear me chew it? That's the problem. You see, if you guys can't hear me chew it, then it fails. You guys see my character chewing? I don't know why her head moves. My head is not moving. It's just my mouth that's moving. Can you guys hear the crust? Is this the content you come in for? Hearing someone eat sourdough bread? Really? You can hear it? Well, if you're hungry, go get something to eat. Or, if you're on a diet and you don't want to eat something to break your diet, drink a full glass of water then. That'll fill you up, and then you don't feel like eating because water sucks. Nah, not really. I actually really like drinking water. Last piece, last piece, last piece. I promise. I'm gonna start reading now. After this last piece. Sourdough bread is so fucking good, man. Well, that is the end of the sourdough bread chewing ASMR. Hope you guys enjoy it. And we are going to start the next chapter of our book. And I believe there are only 2 chapters left. And we will be ending Confession by Minato Kanae today. I feel a little bit sad about finishing the book today because I've been enjoying reading this book a lot. It's really well written and it touches a lot of like societal like problems in Japan and all that. And overall just like, parenting and children and like it's just very good. I hope you guys watch the movie after you read the book. I mean after I finish reading the book. The seriously, the movie is so fucking good. It's definitely one of my top 20 films for sure. For sure. And I hope you guys will enjoy the movie as much as I do. Okay. That was the last sip of my coffee. Not last sip, I still have some sip left. But we're gonna start reading now. Okay. Today we are reading Kanato Minae's Confession, Chapter 5, The Believer. Titled in capital letters, Last Will and Testament. I know this is probably a creepy way to start an 8th grader's will, but happiness is as fragile and fleeting as a bubble of soap. The one person I loved in the whole world died, and then that night, when I got into the bath, there was no more shampoo. Life is pretty much like that. But when I put a little water in the empty bottle and shook it, it is filled with these tiny bubbles. Then, when it hit me, that was me. Water down the last dregs of happiness and turn them into bubbles to fill the void. It may be nothing more than an illusion, but it was still better than the emptiness. I planted a bomb at the school today, the 31st of August. It's rigged to go off when I push the send button on my phone. I got another phone with a different number and built it into the bomb as the trigger. When it rings, the vibration sets off the blast. So, actually, you could set it off from any phone. If you knew the number, or even if you got a wrong number, you would have about 5 seconds and then kaboom! The bomb is under the podium on stage in the gym. There's an all-school assembly tomorrow to mark the end of second term. They are going to announce that the essay I wrote won the top prize in the prefectural competition. My homeroom teacher Terada told me yesterday how the program was supposed to go. I'll go up on the stage to receive a certificate and then I'll go to the podium and read the essay. But they are in for a surprise. Instead of the essay, I'm going to give them some parting words and then detonate the bomb. I'll be blown into tiny pieces and I'll take all those worthless idiots with me. There's never been a child crime like this before, and I bet the television and the newspapers will eat it up. I wonder what they will say about me. I suppose they will talk about my inner demons and use all the usual cliches. But even if the descriptions in the media are totally unrealistic, I hope this website, what I'm writing here, gets out just as it is. My one regret is that the newspapers won't use my real name because I am a minor. But I wonder, what is it that the public really wants to know about a criminal? His background? Or his hidden psychological problems? Or maybe his motive for committing the crime? Well, if that's what they want, I'll start with that here. I understand why murder is considered a crime, but I don't necessarily understand why it is evil per se. Human beings are just one among an infinite numbers of entities living or otherwise that exist on the earth. If obtaining some sort of benefit for one being necessitates the elimination of another, then so be it. But that belief didn't prevent me from writing an essay on the meaning of life that was better than anyone else's in the class, better than any other middle school kids in the prefecture even. I began by quoting Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. Extraordinary people have the right to violate conventional morals in order to bring something new into the world. But I argued against this idea, saying that life is precious and that under no circumstances could murder be justified. I haven't dumbed it down enough to sound like a middle school child. The whole thing took less than half an hour to crank out. But what's the point? That kind of conventional morality is nothing more than just a lesson in school. I suppose there are some people who have an instinctive aversion to murder, but in a country like Japan, where religion doesn't count for much. I suspect most people have been taught to value life above all else. And yet, those same people also supports the death penalty in the case of particularly brutal crimes without seeing the inconsistency in their own position. However, on a few rare occasions, someone will come forward to counter this logic and argue that a murderer's life is just as valuable as one's own, regardless the status or station. But what kind of upbringing results in that sort of sensibility? I suppose it would come from a childhood where someone whispered fairy tales about the precious value of life in your ear every night before bed. If there are such any fairy tales, there is. And if that were the case, I suppose I could understand ending up with that kind of attitude, even though it couldn't be further from my own feelings. Because you see, my own mother never once in my life told me a fairy tale. She did put me to bed at night, but instead of telling me stories, she talked about electrical engineering, current, voltage, Ohm's law, Kirchhoff's law, Thevenin's theorem, Norton's theorem. My dream was to become an inventor, to create a machine that did something new, extracted cancer cells, anything at all. That's how the stories my mother told always ended. Our values are determined by the environment we grow up in, and we learn to judge other people based on a standard that's set for us by the first person we come in contact with, which in most cases is our mother. So, for example, a person who has been raised by a cruel mother might find another person, let's call him A, might find A to be a kind person, but another person who was raised by a very kind mother might find A to be very cruel. At any rate, my mother has always served as my basis for judging other people. I've never yet met anyone who was as extraordinary as she is, which means that I would have no regrets about the death of any of the other people around me. Unfortunately, that even includes my own father. He's nice and cheerful. Fine. For the owner of a small downtown electronics store. But that's about it. I don't hate him. But I don't think it matters whether he lives or dies. Even the smartest person can go through a bad period in her life. At a time when, through no fault of her own, she has the bad luck to be taken in by someone else. My mother was in middle school of such a period of weakness when she met my father. She has been living overseas and came back to do a doctorate in electrical engineering at a top ranked university, but she had ran into a snag in her research just as it was reaching the final stages. Around the same time, she was in an accident. She was taking an overnight bus on her way home from a conference at our local university when the driver fell asleep at the wheel and crashed into an embankment. There were a dozen or so fatalities and many more injuries. My mother was thrown from the bus and suffered a major head contusion. She was loaded onto the first ambulance to arrive at the scene. The patient on the other stretcher turned out to be my father. He had been on his way to a wedding of a college friend. They were married soon afterward and had me, or perhaps it was the reverse, Having finished her doctoral studies, my mother abandoned her research, ignored her genius, and came here to live in this dead-end town. You could think of the time she spent here as a form of rehabilitation. She spent her days in the corner of my father's electronic stores, in a tired shopping district at the edge of the town, finding ways to explain just a tiny bit of what she knew to her little boy. One day, she might take the back off of an alarm clock. The next day, she would take apart a TV, all the while telling me that there was no limit to the things that might be discovered in the future. You are a very smart boy, Shuya. I'm counting on you to accomplish the things I was never able to. She would often tell me this as she looked for ways to explain her abandoned research to a child who was barely in elementary school. And perhaps she had a flash of inspiration while she was repeating the details. At any rate, she wrote a new academic paper without telling my father and submitted it to a conference in the United States. That was when I was 9 years old. Not long afterward, a police officer from. Sorry, a police officer. Oh, good morning, Sento Kari. No, you're not late. You're fine. Don't worry about it. Not long afterward, a professor from her old research lab came to persuade her to return to the university. I overheard their conversation from the next room, and I remember becoming so happy that someone who understood and valued my mother had come, that I wasn't even particularly worried about her going away. But she turned him down. She said she would have gone if she had been single, but that she was a mother now and she couldn't leave her child to go back to her research. It was a shock to realize that I was the reason she had to refuse. I was holding her back. It wasn't just that I was a worthless kid. I was actually denying worth to the person I loved the most. When people talk about overwhelming regret, it's usually just a figure of speech, but I believe that my mother experienced exactly that. All the feelings that she had suppressed came out, and they were directly solely at me. If it weren't for you, she would say as she began to beat me almost every day. She hardly needed an excuse. I hadn't eaten all my vegetable. I had missed one problem on a test. I had slammed the door. In the end, it was the very fact of my existence that she could not stand. But every time she hit me, I could feel a void opening wider and wider inside. It never occurred to me to tell my father that what she was doing. As I've said, I didn't hate him, but I had resigned myself to my mother's decision, and the longer I went on fooling him and pretending nothing was happening, the more I came to feel superior to him. On the other hand, no matter how swollen my cheeks got or how many bruises I had on my arms and legs, I never felt any hatred for my mother. If she had a particularly violent outburst during the day, she would always come to my room at night and stroke my head while I pretended to be asleep. There were tears in her eyes as she whispered how sorry she was. How could I have hated her? After she left my room, I would cry myself to sleep, my face pressed into the pillow to stifle my sobs. It was too painful to realize that the one person in my world I loved the most was suffering by the very fact of my existence. It was during this period that I first started to think about death. If I were dead, my mother would be able to fully demonstrate her genius and finally fulfill her dream. Every suicide scenario I could think of began running through my mind. Jumping in front of a truck out on the highway, throwing myself off the roof of the elementary school, stabbing myself in the heart. But all of them seemed ugly and unappealing. I remembered how my grandmother had died the year before at the hospital, almost as if she had just gone to sleep, and I began to wish I could contract some kind of a disease. While I was desperately trying to come up with a way to die, my parents finalized their divorce. I was 10 years old. My father had at last realized that my mother was abusing me. It seemed that one of the other shop owners had told him. My mother put up no defense, saying that she would move out as soon as the divorce came through. I understand that I couldn't go with her, but nevertheless I cried as if my body was being ripped apart, and when I was done, I was finally completely empty inside. After my parents decided to divorce, my mother never hit me again. On the contrary, she took to gently stroking my cheek or forehead at random moments throughout the day. She made all my favorite foods: cabbage rolls, potatoes au gratin, rice omelets, and her genius showed in the kitchen too. Her versions were better than any restaurants. The day before she left, we went out together for the last time. She asked me where I wanted to go, but a flood of tears prevented me from answering. In the end, we went to a new shopping center called Happy Town that had just opened out by the highway. She bought me several dozen books and the latest game player. She had me picked out all the games for the player I wanted, perhaps hoping that this would help me through the lonely days ahead. But she chose the books herself. These are probably a bit old for you now, but I want you to read them when you get to middle school. Each one of them had a big effect on me when I was growing up. With my blood flowing in your veins, I'm sure they'll be important for my Shuya too. Dostoevsky, Turgenev, Camus. None of them looked very interesting at that time, but I didn't care. It was enough that I had her blood flowing in my veins. For our final dinner together, we ate hamburgers at a fast food restaurant. She had suggested to go to a nice restaurant, but I thought somewhere more starkly lit and unbearably loud might help me to keep me from crying. We had a delivery service ship the things she had bought and decided to walk home despite the distance. She held my hand in hers, the hand that could do such amazing work with a screwdriver or make delicious hamburgers or slap my face ruthlessly and then pet me just as gently. I had never known that until that moment how much could be communicated through the hands. But I had reached my limit. My tears flowed harder with every step we took as I used my free hand to wipe them away. Shuya, you know, I've come to promise that I won't come to see you or call or even write to you, but I'll be thinking about you all the time. Even though we are going to be apart, you will still be my one and only child. If anything should happen to you, I'll forget about the promise and come running to find you. And Shuya, I am hoping you won't forget about me. She was crying too. Will you really come? Instead of answering, she stopped and folded me in her arms. That was the last moment of happiness for her empty boy. My father remarried the following year. I had turned 11. His new wife, someone he had known in middle school, was pretty enough, but she was also impossibly dumb. Here, she was marrying the owner of an electronics store, and she couldn't even tell the difference between double A or triple A batteries. Still, I found I didn't really hate her, mostly because she didn't pretend. She was fully aware how stupid she was. When she didn't know something, she just said so. If a customer asked her a difficult question, she would make a careful note of it and then ask my father before calling back with an answer. There was something admirable in this kind of stupidity. I took to calling her Miyuki-san, and the respect was genuine. I never once talked back to her or treated her like an evil stepmother, the way kids on the cheesy television shows do. On the contrary, I was the model stepchild, finding a designer bag for cheap on the internet or going along with her to carry grocery bags when she went shopping for dinner. I didn't even mind when she showed up for Parents' Day at school. I had not mentioned it to her, but she must have heard from one of the other shopkeepers. Anyway, there she was, all dolled up, right in the middle of the front row. When I was at the blackboard solving some arithmetic problem that was too hard for the other kids, she took my picture with her phone and then showed it to my father when we got home. But I didn't mind. To be honest, it made me kind of happy. Sometimes the three of us would go out bowling or to karaoke, and I began to realize that I was slowly becoming as stupid as they were. And there was actually something unusually pleasant about being stupid. I had even begun to think that I could be happy, being nothing more than just a member of this family of dummies. About 6 months after my father and she were married, Miyuki-san got pregnant. Since both the mother and the father were dumb, it was pretty sure thing that the child would be too. Yet part of me was curious to see what kind of baby it would turn out to be, given that half the blood flowing in its vein would be related to me. By that point, I had come to feel that I was nothing more than happy member of this stupid family. But soon I realized that I was the only one who felt that way. About a month before the due date, on the morning that she had placed an order for the crib, Miyuki-san made an announcement. I've talked this over with your father, and we decided to make a study room for you in your grandmother's house. It would be hard to concentrate on your schoolwork with the baby crying. Don't worry, we are getting you a television and an aircon. You'll see, it will be great. It seemed that it had been decided that and that there was no room for discussion. The next week, a van from the store picked up everything from my room and took it to the old house by the river. Before the end of the day, a brand new crib had appeared in the sunny spot by the window in my old room. I could hear the pop of tiny bubbles bursting. Out here in the boondocks, there are no competitive schools. I was headed for our neighborhood middle school and had no need to study for entrance exam. As for the classes in the elementary school, no matter what the subject was, I could read the textbook through once to see what they were trying to teach us and then master the material in almost no time. I had no ambitions beyond that. In the other words, I had no need for a study room, but there it was. So, in order to make good use of that space, and all this time I had on my hands, I decided to read the books my mother had bought me, even if I was starting a little bit early. I'm not sure what my mother got out of crime and punishment and war and peace, but I felt that my own thoughts as I read must have been like hers, since the same blood ran through our veins. I loved all the books that she had chosen and read them over and over. As I read, I feel as though I was spending time with my mother, even though she was far away, and those were some of the few moments of happiness I had during those lonely times. My study room had once been used as a storehouse for our shops, and as I sat there, alone, with the memories of my mother, I began to look around and to discover what a treasure trove it was. I had nearly every electrician's tool imaginable, as well as broken or discarded electronics of all sorts. Among them, I found an old alarm clock, the same one my mother had taken apart to show me. I replaced the batteries, but it still didn't run, so I decided to try to fix it. Once I had the back off, I could see that the problem was nothing more than just a faulty contact. But as I made the repair, I hit upon an idea. My first invention, the backward clock. I had rewired the hour hand and the minute hand and even the second hand to run backwards and give the illusion that time had reverse course. I set the clock to midnight, and from that moment on, I began calling the study room my laboratory. I was pleased with the backward clock, but it didn't elicit much of a response from my audience, which consisted of the idiots in my class who brought me their porn videos, hoping I would agree to override the mosaic effect on the nasty parts. They would stare at the clock without realizing that the hands were running backwards, and when at last I was forced to tell them, they would simply shrug. "Oh, you're right," was the most I got out of them. One or two seemed a little more interested, but even those never thought to ask how I had managed to do the reversal. Idiots like them believe that the world is limited to what they can see with their own eyes. They never try to figure out the inner workings of things. That's why they are idiots. And that's why they are so completely boring. When I showed it to my father, he simply asked whether it was broken. He was completely absorbed in doting over their new baby, which looked exactly like him, and was just as dull-witted. My poor clock, my first invention, went completely unappreciated. But what would my mother say if I showed it to her? She alone would be able to see its genius and praise my achievement. I could barely contain my excitement at the thought. But how could I show it to her? I didn't know her address or telephone number. The only thing I did know was the name of the university where she was supposed to be working. So I decided at that point that the best strategy would be to set up my own website, which I dubbed the Genius Professor's Laboratory. If I presented my inventions there, perhaps my mother would see them and leave a comment at some point. I knew the chances were slim, but that was what I was hoping for. When I entered my web address on the comments page of the university site and left the message, "Brilliant elementary school students who love electrical engineering presents his fascinating inventions. Please have a look." But no matter how long I waited after that, there were never any comments that looked as though they might have been from my mother. The only visitors to the site were my idiot classmates, and they even mentioned I could override mosaic effects and uncensor porn. The number of hits from obvious perverts began to go up. Within 3 months, Genius Professor's Laboratory was nothing more than a hangout for twisted idiots. I tried posting some pictures of a dead dog I had found by the river. with the idea of scaring them off. But they seemed to love the idea even more, and the comments got weirder and weirder. Still, I never wanted to shut down the website, since that would have been cutting off my only one chance of contacting my mother. I continued working on my inventions after I started middle school. Our homeroom teacher for 7th grade turned out to be a female science teacher. I actually kind of like her, particularly because she was a little aloof and never tried to be too familiar with her students. That sort of attitude is pretty rare with teachers these days. I took her one of my new inventions, of which I was quite proud, my shocking coin purse. How would she react? I was really anxious. But what I got was the hysterics of an old hag. Why would you want to invent something so dangerous? Well, what were you trying to do with it? Kill small animals? One of my idiot classmates must have told her about my website, but she was an even bigger idiot to take the pictures of the dog seriously. Disappointing. That was the only way to describe it. Right after this, however, I had a stroke of good luck, which came in the form of National Middle School Science Fair. A poster announcing the competition appeared on the back of the wall of the classroom, with the names and titles of the 6 judges in small print. One was a science fiction writer, another a well-known politician. But what caught my eyes were the name Yoshikazu Seguchi. Actually, I couldn't have cared less about the name. It was his title that I noticed. He was listed as Professor of Electrical Engineering in the College of Science and Technology at K University, the same K University where my mother was said to be working. If I entered an invention in the science fair and the professor noticed it, word of it might reach my mother's ears. Would she be surprised to hear my name? Would she be happy to know that her son had won a prize using knowledge that she had bequeathed him? What would be, and would she be moved to offer a word of congratulation to her long lost boy? I was in frenzy after that. I've always had the ability to focus when I need to, but I never had been so consumed by something in my life. First, I upgraded the coin purse by adding the release mechanism. But then, I worked on the presentation values and the report, realizing that for a middle school project, they probably look at those even more carefully than they look at the invention itself. Would they dismiss my purse as a little more than a mechanized joke? Not if I could help it. I decided to build it as a theft prevention device. I made sure that the diagram and the explanatory paragraph were perfect. I also crafted a statement of purpose and the project reflections to sound like something a middle school student could write. I even wrote it all out by hand rather than printing it off from my computer. The finished product was a 7th grade science nerd perfection. There was still one little problem. The application required a signature from the teacher who had served as your advisor, but Moriguchi had already told me what she thought of my purse. She must have been influenced by what she had seen on my website because she seemed shocked when I went to her to sign the form. But I had my line ready. I can assure you I made this with the purest of motive. But you seem to think that it's too dangerous. Why don't we let the experts decide which one of us is right? In the end, she signed. After that, everything went according to the plan. Over the summer break, the shocking coin purse was entered in the local science fair in Nagoya and then went on to the national contest where it was given honorable mention. the equivalent of prize. I was a little disappointed at first, but in terms of my desired effect, third turned out to be even better than first. Judges were assigned to comment individually on each of the winning projects, and the judge for the third place was none other than Professor Seguchi, the man from my mother's university. I take it that you are Shuya Watanabe? He said, coming up to me as I stood by my display. This is quite an achievement. I don't think I could have built something like this myself. I have read your documentation, and I see you have applied a number of techniques you couldn't possibly have learned in middle school. Did your teacher help you with this? No, my mother did it, I told him. Your mother? You are certainly a lucky boy. Well, I look forward to seeing what you'll come up with in the future. Good luck. He had used my full name, and he absolutely had to know my mother. My fate was on this man's hand. I prayed that he would talk about what he had seen today, and the next time he was with my mother. Or, if he didn't tell her, that he would at least leave the pamphlet listing the winner someplace she might find it. After the meeting with the judges, I was interviewed by a reporter from our local paper. It was unlikely that she would run across an article in a paper from a small town far from where she was living, but perhaps if she learned about the prize from Seguchi, she might go online and find the article. I could always hope. The day I was interviewed, however, a 7th grade girl in somewhere town committed a crime. The lunacy incident. She put several kinds of poison in the food her family was eating, and then blogged about the effect. I had to admit I was the tiniest bit impressed. Once in a while, one of these idiots comes up with an interesting idea. I waited for the rest of the summer, but there was no word from my mother. Since she didn't know my cell number, I hung around the store all day and ran to the phone every time it rang. Miyuki was used to having me out of her hair since I'd been spending all my time at the laboratory, and she didn't seem very pleased. I was constantly checking my email on the store computer. I ran out to the mailbox at the slightest sound. The TV in the store played non-stop coverage of the lunacy in this incident, the girl's home environment, her behavior in school, her grades, her clubs she belonged to, her hobbies, her favorite books and movies. If the TV was on, the details came pouring in. Had my mother learned of the prize I had won in the science fair in spite of all this lunacy news? I found myself imagining her having coffee with Professor Seguchi in the university cafeteria. There was a kid at the science fair the other day, Shuya Watanabe, I think his name was, who came up with an interesting invention. But that was preposterous. Why would they be talking about me? They were probably discussing about the whole lunacy thing. As the coverage of the girl's idiotic crime grew more and more overwhelming, I had the feeling that bubbles were popping inside me. I had done something wonderful and had my name printed on the newspaper, but my mother didn't know. But perhaps, just perhaps, if I did something horrible, my mother might come running to me to be with me again. So that's it. My early life and my hidden madness and my motive, or at least the motive for my first crime. Crimes, like anything else, come in all sizes and shapes. Shoplifting, theft, assault. But petty stuff like gets you nothing more than a lecture from the police or a teacher. And if they want to blame someone, it would have been my father or Miyuki. And what would be the point? And I despise pointless things more than anything else in this world. If you're going to commit a crime, it ought to be something that can get people talking, whip the media into a frenzy, which means there's only one crime that will do, and that's murder. I could steal a knife from the kitchen, run through the streets waving it around and screaming like a madman, then stab the lady at the deli. That would get a lot of attention, no doubt, but when they went to find somebody to blame, again, they would cite the bad parenting from my father or Miyuki. What good would it do to have the newspaper writing about the influence those two had on my character development? What could be more humiliating than seeing my father on the television saying how sorry he was, how he had sent me off to my study room instead of keeping me at home? No. I had to get them to blame my mother. That was the only way to be sure she would come to see me. When I had done my deed, I needed to find a way to get the eyes of the world to turn toward her. But what did we have in common? Our genius, of course. So my crime had to be somehow demonstrate the intelligence and ability I inherited from her, which meant it had to be involved in one of my inventions. Should I come up with something new? Or was there something lying around that might work? Again, the answer was simple. The shocking coin purse. Professor Seguchi had made the necessary connection himself at the award ceremony. Did your teacher help you with this? No, my mother did, I had told him. When the murder is committed, some kind of attention naturally goes to the murder weapon. Knives or bats are boring. Even the lunacy girl's potassium cyanide could be ordered online or stolen from school. In other words, crimes had relied on these tools without leaving the room to demonstrate the murderer's own ability. What would they say when they found out my invention? My weapon was something that I had invented myself. Not to mention that it had won a prize at the National Middle School Science Fair, the most wholesome place imaginable. That would get them talking. The judges who had awarded the prize would have some explaining to do. Morning, Exia. And at that point, Seguchi might even mention that it was my mother who had inspired my technical wizardry. But even if the whole scenario was unlikely, I was pretty sure my father would have mentioned my mother's influence if he thought it would help him avoid any sort of responsibility for what I had done. But I suppose I didn't have to worry about all this. I could always just make the connections myself. Tell them that instead of reading me fairy tales, my mother had taught me electrical engineering from the time I was small. I could imagine the outcry that would follow my confession. But what would my mother have to say? She would tell me that she was sorry, as she had all those times before, and then hold me in her arms. I was sure of it. Yes, that sound from a cat who is trying to get my attention. So now that I have decided on the weapon, I just needed a victim. As a middle school student in a dead-end town, I didn't get around much. My sphere of activity were limited to 1. Home, 2. My laboratory, and 3. The school. As I've said before, if I committed the murder at home or at my father's shop, the blame would fall on him rather than on my mother, even if it were committed with one of my inventions. I suppose I might have chosen one of the kids who played by the river near the lab. But in fact, the place had a bad reputation, and kids didn't come all that often. So it wouldn't be possible to plan things as carefully as I would like to. That left the school, which was fine, since murders at schools always seem to get a lot of coverage in the media. So who would it be? The truth is, I didn't really care. I wasn't interested in the idiots or bumpkins in my class. I hardly knew their names. But and I didn't think the media coverage would be much different whether I choose a student or a teacher. They will go crazy for either one. Middle school student kills teacher. Middle school student kills classmate. They both sounded pretty good, but also a little boring at the same time. I was thinking about what made a person want to commit murder in the first place, what brought out the killer instinct, when I suddenly remembered the kid who sits next to me and scrawls, "Die, die, die" in his notebook. He is a pathetic piece of work, so worthless I had been tempted to lean over and tell him he's the one who should die. But now, it occurred to me to wonder who it was he wanted to die. Sorry, who it was he wanted to kill. Maybe I should get him to pick my victim. On the other hand, that wasn't the only reason I ended up talking to him in the first place. There was another element missing in my plan, a witness. What good was the murder if no one realized that I had done it? And yet, it would look too foolish to turn myself in. I needed someone who could follow me through the plan and begin from the beginning to the end and then give a full account to the police or the media. But not just anyone would. First of all, I had to avoid anyone with a highly developed sense of morality. I also had to avoid anyone who might let the cat out of the bag while I was talking him through the plot. And finally, I needed someone who wasn't categorically opposed to murder. But there were other considerations besides. I had to avoid anyone who thought of himself as happier than me. Some kids, when they see someone worse off than they are, they want to play therapist. Why would you want to go and kill somebody? You must be unhappy about something. Why don't you tell me about it? What would I do if someone started the routine with me? The whole thing is just a trick, a way to make themselves feel better. Fortunately, it wasn't hard to figure out the likely candidate. A week of my observing, my classmate gave me a good sense of who was who. I had to avoid the complete idiots and the hanger-ons seeking reflected glory. Then there were the idiots who had me watch. Sorry. And then there were the idiots who had watched me decrypt their porn tapes and then went around acting like they could do it themselves. Or the would-be thugs who wanted to think of themselves as the bad boys when the worst they had ever done was visit my website and ogle the picture of dead animals. I couldn't have the witness claiming that he was actually my accomplice. The ideal subject was an idiot. They were all idiots who was harboring some deep resentment but was too timid to let it out. And Naoki Shitamura fit the bill exactly. At the beginning of February, I succeeded in increasing the charge in the shocking coin purse. The time had come to put my plan into action. I never said more than 2 words to Shitamura, but as soon as I tapped him on the shoulder and buttered him up a bit, he opened right up. It was really simple. I mentioned the porn videos to him and the deal was sealed. But almost immediately, I began having regrets chosen Shitamura as the witness. To begin with, I quickly figured out that she didn't have somebody she wanted to kill. He was just generally unhappy. And He scribbled die, die, die over and over because his limited vocabulary didn't afford him any other options to express his feelings. But beyond that, he was simply depressing to be around. At school, he was quiet enough, but give him an opening and he babbled on endlessly. Try one of these carrot cookies. Oh, I bet you are like me, can't stand carrots. I'm the same way. I won't touch them except in these cookies. My mom tried all the different recipes to get me to eat carrots, but they all sucked. But when she come out this and they are not bad, like I'm willing to eat them for her sake. I had no idea what he was talking about. It was a bit creepy for the mother of a middle school kid to send cookies along when her son went to play at another kid's school, which is why I hadn't touched them in the first place. But it was even creepier for the son to take them and not to be totally embarrassed. It occurred to me that I should just kill him and be done with it. I did, however, have a useful realization in the midst of all this. Human beings have a fundamental need for physical and emotional space, and the desire to extinguish another life can arise when the boundaries of that space are violated. But just as I was beginning to think about finding another witness, Shitamura mentioned a target that had never occurred to me. Moriguchi's little girl. Middle school student kills teacher's daughter right at school. That would be a first, and the TV and newspapers would eat it up. The homeroom teacher who had abused the boy when he showed her his invention, the same teacher who had signed the application to the science fair, her little girl. Not bad. For an idiot like Shitamura, he even provided some additional information that could be of use. He had been shopping at the mall and had seen the girl begging Moriguchi for a pouch in the shape of a rabbit, which she had refused to buy her. I decided to keep Shitamura on as a witness. He got very excited about the plan, which he thought would end up with the girl getting a little shocked. He even started adding details, insisting, for instance, that someone needed to scout out the scene of crime before we started. The more I let him rattle on, the more eager he got. I wonder if she's going to cry, he would say, with a revolting grin on his face. What do you think, will she? I doubt it, I told him, because she will be dead. It was all I could do to keep myself from laughing at the sight of him making these little plans with no idea how they would end. Enjoy yourself while you can. You won't be grinning when you see her dead on the ground in front of you. He will go running straight home scared out of his mind, tell his mother. That would be perfect. Especially since I remember having heard that she was always complaining to someone about something. Apparently, she wrote the principal at the drop of the hat about any little slight to her boy. Well, I was going to give her something much bigger to worry about. Everything was in place. The afternoon, I got a text from Shitamura saying that he had done his reconnaissance, and I headed over to the pool. He continued his annoying monologue while we hid in the locker room, waited for the girl. He would get his mother to bake a cake so we could celebrate, he said. What I didn't say was that I would never speak to him again once we were finished. But the more he talked, the more I wanted to find a way to hurt him. But what? Hey! Thank you, Zelant. Alright. Let me sit up straight and have a sip of my coffee. Welcome, Zealand. Morning, Exia. Morning, Sento. Okay. didn't say was that I would never speak to him again once we were finished here. But the more he talked, the more I wanted to find a way to hurt him. But what could have been simpler? I just have to tell him the truth. As I was enjoying imagining the near future our victim arrived, she was 4 years old at that time, an intelligent-looking girl who bore a close resemblance to her mother. She looked warily about her but walked straight across the pool deck to the fence where the dog was waiting. Then she produced a piece of bread from under her sweatshirt and began feeding it to the dog piece by piece. I had imagined a more pitiful child given that she was the daughter of a single mother, but I realized immediately that I had been wrong. Her pink sweatshirt was printed with her favorite rabbit character. Her hair was neatly parted in the middle and held back on either side with a band decorated with pom-poms. Her cheeks were soft and white. When she smiled at the dog, I felt as though I was looking at the fluffy rabbit thing come to life. She was obviously a well-loved child, at least to my eyes. It's embarrassing to admit it, but at that moment I envied my victim. A little girl who should have been nothing more than a necessary piece and object in my plan. But I managed to shrug off this humiliation and go out to meet her. Shitamura followed and then pushed past me. "Hi!" he said as we got close to her. "You're Manami, aren't you? We are in your mother's class. You remember I saw you the other day at Happy Town?" He had jumped in and gotten things started. To be honest, I hadn't really thought he'd be any good at this stage of the game, but he actually was the first to speak up. He had even thought up his lines, since his only real strength was his ability to seem friendly. This should have been a decent plan, but in the end, it proved to be a disaster. When he spoke to the girl, he sounded exactly like a third-rate MC they hired once a year for the block party in our neighborhood. He might have put it off if he used his normal voice, but instead, he sounded like somebody pretending to be the nice boy from next door. The girl was eyeing him suspiciously now, and I knew I would have to do something, or the whole plan would be ruined. It was my turn to speak up. Shitamura could just watch from here on. I asked her about the dog, and she got a big smile on her face. Humans truly are simple creatures. Then I watched for an opening and produced the pouch. "It's a little early, but it's a Valentine's present from your mother." I hung it around her neck. "From Mama?" she said, and I could see that she had the smile of someone who had been well loved. The smile I had lost forever. That's when I realized I wanted her to die. I wanted to escape this humiliation, and the murder that would allow me to do it seemed even more precious. My plan suddenly appeared utterly perfect. "Go ahead and open it," I told her. "There's chocolate inside." There was a look of complete trust in her eyes as she took hold of the zipper. There was a quiet popping sound. Her body twitched violently and then she fell on her back. After that, she lay perfectly still, with her eyes closed. It had all happened so quickly that my bubble had no time to pop. She was now dead. My plan was a success. My mother would come now. She would take me in her arms and apologize for all the pain she had caused me and would never have to be apart again. I was on the verge of tears, but Shitamura brought me back to reality. He was clinging to me and his body was trembling, which was totally disgusting. "Go ahead. Tell everybody all about it." Once I told him the most important thing, I shook him off and turned to leave. "I have nothing more to say to you, but your part begins now. This is the only reason I spoke to an idiot like you in the first place. Why I took you to my laboratory and let you leave your nasty cookie crumbs all over. But then I turned around. Shitamura was still standing there, stunned look on his face. Oh, I almost forgot. Don't worry about them thinking you had anything to do with this. We had never been friends. I can't stand kids like you anyway. Completely worthless but full of yourself. Compared to a genius like me, you are pretty much a complete failure. How well put. There was something refreshing about finally telling the truth. I turned again, and this time I left the pool without even looking back and went straight to the laboratory. Everything had gone according to plan. I spent the night at the lab waiting for my phone to ring or hear the police in the intercom. But at dawn, the next day nothing happened. Apparently, Shitamura hadn't gone sniveling to his mother yet. Hardly surprising, as he was slow at everything, but they must have found a body by now. There was nothing on the television or the internet, so I decided to go to the house on the way to school to read the morning paper. I had stopped eating breakfast there long ago, but Miyuki said I should at least have a glass of milk. I drank it down and then spread the newspaper on the dining room table. On any other morning, I would have started with the front page headlines, but this morning I went straight to the local news. 4-year-old girl drowns after sneaking into pool to feed dog. Drowned? I went on to the article. Certain there must have been a mistake. Around 6:30 on the afternoon of the 13th, the body of Manami Moriguchi, 4 years old, daughter of Yuko Moriguchi, was discovered in the pool at S Municipal Middle School. The police are still investigating the cause of death, but it is believed to have been an accidental drowning. Accidental? Worse still, there was no mention of electrocution. She had drowned. What had happened? As I was trying to sort things out, Miyuki let out a gasp. Why? This is your school, isn't it? And Yuko Moriguchi is your teacher. Her little girl died. As I write this now, I can see myself at the moment, and I remember that I knew Miyuki was saying something important, but somehow nothing was getting through to me. It was only slowly dawning on me that Shitamura must have done something that made up a mess of things. I hurried off to school to find out what had really happened. After that point, I had thought that the word failure had nothing to do with me or my life. I was supposed to know how to avoid it, which mainly meant not getting involved with idiots. But I had completely forgotten this lesson in choosing my witness. School was buzzing with talks about the girl's death. The body had been discovered by Hoshino, one of the boys in our class, and he was telling anyone who would listen how he found it floating in the pool. The pool had nothing to do with it, I told myself. I wanted to tell these idiots that she was killed by Shuya Watanabe's prize-winning invention, so why didn't I? The answer was simple. They didn't think it was a murder at all. Everyone was convinced it was an accident. The plan had been a massive failure. Not wanting to be seen as my accomplice, the coward Shitamura had thrown her into the pool to make it look as though she had drowned. I was furious, and even more so when he showed up at school looking cool and calm as though he had not done anything, had not ruined my plan. I dragged him out to the wall and demanded an explanation. "Leave me alone!" he hissed. "We've never been friends, remember? But you should know that I'm not going to tell anybody about yesterday. If you want to, go ahead." That was when I realized he had not thrown the body in the pool because he was frightened. He had done it expressively to spoil my plan. But why? The answer was so simple. To get back at me for saying what I have said as I walked away. I had underestimated him.
A cornered rat will bite the cat. But there are idiots all over Japan doing unimaginable things simply because someone had pushed them too far. It was my own fault. I had given to my emotions for one moment and provoked this idiot, but in the end it didn't matter. I had lost nothing. Nothing had changed. I could go back to being a model student for the time being while I work on new plans. That ought to have been the end of it. But it wasn't. The victim's mother, Moriguchi, found out the truth. About a month later, she called me to the science room and showed me the rabbit pouch, which was now dirty but intact. My wonderful invention, my murder weapon, I had succeeded after all. I wanted to shout for joy. I confessed everything. I had wanted to kill someone with my invention to attract even more attention than the lunacy incident. But Shitamura, my witness, had lost his nerve and had thrown the body into the pool. I told her how sorry I was that no one had found. To be honest, I did everything I could to provoke her that day. So much so that I am surprised looking back on it that she didn't kill me right on the spot. But I really didn't have much choice. It was my only chance to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. But she just listened to the whole thing and then announced that she wasn't going to tell the police. She wasn't going to, quote, give me the satisfaction of starring in my own horror show. But why? Why? Why did all these idiots insist on getting in my way? Why all these recalcitrant pieces and parts? Whatever the reason, she did as she said and kept quiet about the whole thing. And then, on the last day of the school year, she announced that she was retiring from teaching and that her parting message to us. She began explaining exactly what had happened to her daughter. I wasn't sure why she was telling all those idiots when she hadn't said a word to the police, but at that very least, it wasn't a boring goodbye. She overacted in a bit places, but on the whole, it made a pretty gripping story. But as she got closer to revealing the identity of her daughter's killer, the other kids in the class started craning around to look at me. Their stares filled me with deep feeling of satisfaction. There were worse ways of getting this started than having the rumor run through the school that I was a murderer. But then, one of these idiots asked her why she hadn't gone to the authorities, whether she would feel responsible if A killed again. Her answer came as a shock. But you misunderstood when you worry about A killing again. I knew every detail of the incident, but I have to admit, at that moment I had no idea what she was saying. Quote, the purse was incapable of stopping the heart of an old person with coronary disease, or even that of a 4-year-old child. She was saying that my invention had not worked, that Shitamura had killed the girl instead of me. I had simply rendered her unconscious, that she had died when that idiot dropped her in the pool under the mistaken impression that he needed to cover up what we had done. At that very instant, every eye in the room turned towards Shitamura. How utterly humiliating. Nothing could be worse. I wanted to bite off my tongue and die on the spot. But there was one more detail in Moriguchi's story. An especially interesting one. She had mixed the blood of an AIDS patient into the milk Shitamura and I had just drunk. If I had been as much of an idiot as my partner in crime, I might have stood up from my desk and yelled, "Bravo!" From that moment, I first realized I was holding my mother back. I had contemplated suicide a number of times, but I'd been too young to come up with the right way to do it. I recall praying over and over for exactly this: please let me get sick. Now, I had been granted my wish in a most unexpected fashion. It was beyond anything I could have imagined. A complete success! If my mother would have come running to help a son accused of murder, she was even more likely to come for one who had AIDS. I was jumping for joy on the inside, as cliche as that might seem. I wanted to run right to the doctor to get a certification that I was HIV positive, and then send it off to the university where my mother was working. But I knew the virus could take 3 months to show up in my system, so I would have to wait to be tested. As frustrating as it was, that's all I could do. In reality, however, I don't think I had known such a peaceful period since my mother left. Under no circumstances, my father would probably not have approved of my seeing my mother, but if I were ill, he would have no choice. I might even be allowed to live out my last days with her. The incubation period for AIDS can be 5 or even 10 years. We could develop a joint research project at her university. What kind of amazing things could the two of us do together? Then, when I was too sick to carry on with the research, she would nurse me on my deathbed. As I play out this scenario in my head, vacation ended and the new school year started. Shitamura didn't show up for class, and the rest of the idiots left me alone for fear of catching the virus, so all in all, it was actually quite pleasant. Gradually, however, these idiots began their little campaign of stupid pranks. They would shove milk cartons in my desk or shoe cupboard, or hide my gym clothes or wrote "die" on my notebooks. It wasn't fun, but I have to admit, I was almost impressed by their determination and a sense of invention on coming up with the would-be indignities. At one point, when a carton of sour milk exploded in my desk, I had a passing desire to slaughter the lot of them, but even that I could forgive, or at least ignore, when I realized it was just a matter of time I could be with my mother. When the 3 months had finally passed, I went to the clinic in the next town to have my blood drawn for the test. Then, a week after that, I had a run-in with the class clowns. They are idiots, but even idiots can be dangerous in a group. As the group was letting out, they grabbed me from behind and bound my hands and feet with tapes. They had come prepared with surgical masks and rubber gloves to avoid infection. I thought they were going to kill me, and under circumstances I might not have minded. But now I didn't want to die. Not yet, anyway. Not when my dreams was just about to come true. If I started crying and asked for forgiveness, they might let me go. If I got down on my knees and back, I might escape with my life. I was so determined to leave that I would have to put up with any humiliation. But as it turned out, I wasn't even the target that day. They were really after the class president, who was suspected of having squealed to Terada, the new homeroom teacher. They had a special treat worked out for her. When she insisted that she was innocent, they told her to prove by throwing a milk carton at me. It hit me in the face and exploded in a magnificent shower, but the shock reminded me of something completely different. I could feel my mother's hand on those occasions when she slapped me. I don't know what kind of expression I had on my face, but at that moment my eyes met the president's, Mizuki's, and when I saw her mouth the words "I'm sorry," someone must have seen her too, because they declared her guilty and immediately passed sentence: a kiss. Apparently, that's why they had tied me up in the first place. I spent the walk home after this encounter wondering how there could be so many stupid human beings in the world. But these thoughts disappeared when I got to the door and saw an envelope from the clinic in the mailbox. At last! But the moment I ripped it open, I could feel myself trembling into the abyss. It was negative. I was negative. I didn't have AIDS. I had known that was possible, but why had I been so sure I would test positive? I suppose because Moriguchi had been so convincing that day. I began to regret that these idiots hadn't just killed me earlier at school. Late that evening, I sent a text to Mizuki asking her to meet me. I sent it because I was unable to throw away the useless scrap of paper that had been waiting in the mailbox. It was useless to me. But it might be the difference between life and death for a girl who had been forced to kiss someone who was convinced to have had AIDS. But to be honest, that was an afterthought. The truth is, I didn't want to be alone. And there was something about her that had interested me, if only slightly before any of this had happened. It had something to do with the fact that I had seen her at the pharmacy trying to buy some chemicals. They had refused to sell it to her, even though she said she wanted them for some dye work she was doing. I realized I could have made a bomb from the stuff she had wanted, and I wondered whether she might have had the same thing in mind. Was there someone she wanted dead? If so, I imagined we might hit it off. But when she showed up for my little meeting, I held out the result of my blood test. Her reaction was a surprise. "I knew," she said. "But how could she have known my HIV status before I did?" Maybe because she meant that she read up on the transmission of the HIV virus and knew that the likelihood of infection from Moriguchi's little trick was extremely low. But when I took her to the laboratory, we sat down to talk. She had a completely different explanation. Apparently, Moriguchi had never put blood in the cartons in the first place. Mizuki had been the last one in the classroom the day Moriguchi told us her goodbye story, and she had found my empty carton and Shitamura's in the rack. She had taken them home and tested them with some chemical she had managed to get hold of. It seemed I had been under Moriguchi's spell the whole time. I had been living in a fantasy of my own devising. But why had Moriguchi gone to such a trouble and told such a complicated lie? In the end, she hadn't turned us in or given us AIDS. What did her revenge amount to? Maybe she had only meant to torture us psychologically. If that were the case, I suppose you could say that she had hit a home run with Shitamura. I have forgotten to mention that he had stabbed his mother to death and then went a little crazy. They say the police still haven't been able to question him. But Moriguchi couldn't have predicted the day she gave a performance. But Moriguchi couldn't have predicted that the day she gave her performance in front of the class. The thing that surprises me, however, is that a mama's boy like Shitamura never told his mother he had been infected with HIV. I had guessed he'd go right home and tell her, tears in his eyes, and then they have made daily trips to the clinics while they were waiting for the test results. If Moriguchi was gambling on driving him crazy instead of actually killing him, she knew what she was up to. But what about me? I suppose it's true that Shitamura was the one who actually killed her daughter, but if I had not made the plan, she would still be alive. I can't imagine she doesn't hate me just as much as Shitamura. Nor can I believe that she was smart enough to realize how disappointed I'll be that I'm not HIV positive. At any rate, whatever she was thinking, it was all a failure. A big bore, like everything else. It's boring to go on living, but just as boring to kill myself. I suddenly realized I needed some fun, a diversion of some sort. Maybe I should find a way to pay back all those idiots at school. First, I needed to make sure they still believe I had AIDS. Sorry, I'm trying to find my cat, and then I saw what I saw. I thought it was like my cushion. It's turned out to be my cat. My cat is as plush as a cushion right now. Okay, sorry. The next day, I staged a return engagement of the little drama they had scripted for the president and me the day before. It was all over in 5 minutes. I found myself thanking Moriguchi for her parting gift to me. So you may be wondering why at this point why I planted the bomb. I want to warn you against easy explanations. And you certainly shouldn't assume that it had anything to do with Mizuki becoming my girlfriend or that I was trying to compensate for my mother's love. I hesitate to write about Mizuki here, but I will in order to avoid any inaccurate assumptions. She is certainly bright enough, but if she isn't silly like a lot of girls. There's nothing special about the way she looks, but there was nothing wrong with her either. But none of that had anything to do with why I liked her. What I liked, even admired, about her was the fact that she stayed cool after Moriguchi's performance. While everybody else, and I am embarrassed to say that included me, fell hook, line, and sinker for her crap, Mizuki showed the skeptical spirit of a scientist and tried to confirm those wild claims. But even when she found out the truth, she didn't go around telling everybody. She kept it to herself. That's why I like her. In fact, I liked her so much, I was willing to stoop to put pretty pathetic tactics together to like me back. I just wanted someone to notice me, I told her. Of course, it wasn't just someone I wanted. It was my mother. But still, the line seemed to work with Mizuki. Unfortunately, she turned out to be a complete idiot. Or maybe it would be more accurate to say that she was a fool. During summer vacation, she would come to the lab every day, and while I worked on my new invention, she sat hunched over her laptop typing out something on the keyboard. When I asked her what she was writing, she refused to tell me, and I let it go at that. I suppose she was my girlfriend at that point. Sorry. But listening to someone else's little problems was still more trouble than it's worth. She finally told me that she had been writing something to submit to the literary contest. That was a week ago. The day she sent the whole thing off in the mail, I told her I had first noticed her when I realized she had those chemicals. I thought she might be interested in science, and that had made me want to get to know her. But as soon as she heard this, she began explaining the real reason she had them, as though she had been waiting all along for the chance to tell me her secret. She wasn't planning to make a bomb, but they weren't for some craft project either. Nor she was planning to poison someone or kill herself. She was simply obsessed with the lunacy girl and what she had done. When the news first broke, she had immediately been convinced that the girl was her other self. The name itself was proof enough, she said. Luna meant moon, as did Zuki, the second character of her name. She went on like this for a long time and none of it made any sense. When I didn't say anything, she just kept talking. She told me there were other things that proved that she and the lunacy girl were one and the same person. When they published the list of chemicals the girls had in her possession on one of the weeklies, she had been speechless. They were exactly the same ones that she, Mizuki, had collected. For what it's worth, the list had already been published when I spotted her trying to buy things at the pharmacy. It's hard to know whether she was telling the truth, but she said that she used one of those chemicals she had on hand to test the milk cartons for traces of blood, so at least it turned out to be good for something. At one point, out of the blue, she suggested testing some of her stock on Terada. There was something gloomy about her, like a character in a bad after-school special. Not that I've ever seen one. But I doubt she could have murdered anyone. Still, when the police questioned her about the incident with Shitamura and his mother, she blamed Terada for everything, and it seemed as though she still wasn't satisfied, but the whole thing struck me as a bit much. I could almost find myself sympathizing with the poor guy. He had been unlucky enough to take over from Moriguchi and then let her prod him into Shitamura's debacle. But when I asked her why she had it in for Terada, her answer was unforgivable. I hate him because of what she did to Naoki. He was the first boy I ever loved. But I like you now, Shuya. She was putting me on the same level as Shitamura. Could anything be more humiliating? Shit! How stupid can you be? I had thought I had said this to myself, but apparently I said it aloud. Then, since it didn't matter anymore, I told her exactly what I thought of her obsession with the lunacy thing, but by this point she was furious, and she accused me of having a mother complex. I had told her a good bit of what I have written here, but it was wrong of her to describe it that way. Then, when I tried to tell her that, she just pressed her point. I'm sure your mother loved you, but she made a hard choice in order to pursue her dream and she left you. She must have had her reasons, but in the end, that's what it comes down to. You were left behind. But if you miss her that much, why don't you just go and see her? Tokyo's not that far away. You know where she works. The only reason you are still waiting for her here is that you are a coward. You are afraid she will send you away. You figured out long ago that she doesn't want you anymore. That was too much. It wasn't just me that she was attacking. It was my mother. The next thing I knew, I had my hands wrapped around her scrawny neck. At last, I found myself truly wanting to kill someone, and there was no time to consider the weapon. There was nothing waiting on the other side of this murder. In the other words, there was an end in itself. Murder as its own reward. She died too quickly for me to hear the babble. Shitamura's experience had shown me no one would pay much attention just because a minor committed murder, so I decided her death was of no use to me, and I hid the body away in the laboratory outside the refrigerator. But after a week, when no one came looking for her, I began to see how pitiful she was, and thought I would take her with me the next day when I went to set off the bomb. After all, I had made it with her chemicals. She had brought them here to the lab because she said she seemed to go with the place. In the end, though, I had to give up on the idea of carting her to the school. Life may be as fragile and light as a bubble, but her body had turned into a lump of lead. But again, I want to be perfectly clear. Planting the bomb has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I had killed the class president. 3 days ago, I went to K University to see my mother. All along I had wanted her to come to me, but as one of the conditions of the divorce settlement, she had promised not to contact me, and being the serious person she was, the promise had kept her away all these years. Now, I was taking matters into my own hands and making it possible for my mother and son to meet again. It took just 4 hours to get to the university, first on a local train, then the Shinkansen, and finally the subway. It had always seemed like another world, a paradise that could never be reached, but here I was after a short, easy trip. Still, as I got near to my destination, I could feel my chest tighten. I began to find it difficult to breathe. Laboratory number 3 in the Electrical Engineering Department of College of Science and Technology at K University. my mother's laboratory. As I crossed the enormous campus, my brain was running through various reunion scenarios. I would knock on the door, and my mother would answer. What kind of look would she have on her face when she saw me? What would she say? She probably wouldn't say anything, just hug me tight. But what if one of her assistants or students answered instead? I would tell them I was here to see Professor Jun and Yasaka. And then, should I give my name? Or just wait for her to see me? I was still trying to figure this out when I reached the electrical engineering department and ran into someone I might have expected to meet here. Professor Seguchi, the judge from the science fair. Oddly enough, he seemed to remember me and spoke up at first. This is a surprise, he said. To what we do owe this pleasure. For some reason I couldn't bring myself to say that I had come to see my mother, so I blurted out the first thing that came into my head. I had an errand nearby, and I decided to come and see whether you might be here. Well, I'm delighted you did. So, have you brought along another invention? I have, I told him. Several, in fact. Nor was this a lie. I brought the shocking purse, the backward clock, the lie detector to show my mother. Professor Seguchi smiled and led me off toward his lab, which was at the eastern end of the building on the 3rd floor, and right under mother's. Once I showed him the invention, I could tell him I had actually come to see her. He would say, "You're Jun Yasaka's boy? No wonder you're so smart." As all this was running through my head, we reached his lab and he showed me into a room that embodied all my fantasies. Complex instruments crammed into every corner, shelves overflowing with books and technical journals. He sat me down on the couch and went to get me a cold drink. My eyes wandered around the room until they came to a rest on a framed photograph on his desk. The picture showed Professor Seguchi and a woman standing in front of an old castle, perhaps in Germany. The woman next to the professor, who was smiling so happily, was clearly my mother. But what could this mean? Maybe it had been taken while they were at a conference together or on a research trip. Even after Professor Seguchi put the drink down on the table in front of me, I couldn't take my eyes off the picture. He seemed to notice and laughed bashfully. I'm afraid it was taken on our honeymoon. A bubble popped. Honeymoon? I know, you might think that I'm too old for that kind of thing, but we were married last autumn. And now at 50, I'm about to become a father for the first time. Strange, isn't it? A father? The baby is due at the end of December, but my wife doesn't seem to care. She's off at the conference in Fukuoka today. Women are like that now. Bubbles popping one after another. Your wife is Professor Jun Yasaka, isn't she? Yes. Do you know her? She's someone I greatly respect. I had started trembling, and that's all I could manage to say. The last bubble was gone. Seguchi was eyeing me suspiciously. You're not her... I didn't wait around to hear the end of his sentence. I leapt up and ran out of the room. Though I never looked back, I was pretty sure the professor had made no move to follow me. I thought she had given up on the idea of a family in exchange for the chance to follow her dream, to be true to her gift, to become a great inventor, but she has been forced to abandon her beloved child, her one and only child. Isn't that what she said? But she had never come back to find her one and only. Instead, she had married up, found a better mate, had another child, and was living happily ever after. It had been 4 years since she left me, but I had finally realized the truth. It wasn't a child in the abstract that had held her back. It was me, Shuya, a boy with a name. And from the day she walked out of that house, I was already a thing of the past, already fading from memory. I was sure that Seguchi had realized who I was, so the fact that there was no words from her after my visits made this all too clear. So you can think of the mass murder I'm about to commit as a revenge against my mother. And this last will and testament as the only way I have to tell her what I have done. As with Moriguchi's daughter, I need a witness as well. So, I have appointed you the visitors to my website. I hope you will be watching as I create a catastrophe that will go down in the annals of juvenile crime, and I hope you will tell my mother it was my way of showing her my pain. Farewell. Farewell. I pounded on the podium as I finished reading live my stupid essay, and then reached towards my pocket for my phone. The number was preset. I slowly pressed the send button. That's it. The detonator for my bomb. 1 second passed. 2, 3, 4, 5. Nothing happened. What could have gone wrong? Was the bomb a dud? No. I hadn't even heard the vibration from the other phone I wired in as a trigger. It couldn't be. I bent over and peered under the podium. The bomb was gone. Someone must have seen the website and removed it. But who? It was a delicate business disarming a bomb. And why hadn't they called the police? Could it be my mother? Just then, the phone in my hand started ringing. Number withheld. My finger was trembling as I pressed talk. That's the end of chapter 5. I'm going to take a sip of water and we'll continue chapter 6, which is the last chapter of Confessions. Chapter 6. The Evangelist. Shuya, it's Mama. Isn't that what you were expecting? I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it isn't Mama. This is Moriguchi. It's been a while, hasn't it? I suppose you're wondering why the bomb didn't go off. Well, you see, I disarmed it this morning. I have to say I was quite impressed with the mechanism. Clever of you to rig it so that the trigger was deactivated below a certain temperature. That way you could flash freeze it at your little laboratory and bring it to school in a cooler. No matter how much it got shaken around, as long as it was cold enough, it was safe. Your knowledge of chemistry is almost as impressive as your engineering skill. If you had put that ability to good use, I'm sure you would have made a wonderful scientist. But you chose to use your gifts for evil, to make weapons to carry out your stupid little schemes. I read the love letter to your mother you left online. Anyone could write a thing like that and put it up on the website without dying of embarrassment, must see himself some kind of a tragic hero. It's sad. It's a sad and beautiful story. Brilliant mother, her only son blessed with the same genius, tears in her eyes, she leaves her boy behind the dead-end town to follow her dreams, but not without promising him that she'll come running back if she should ever meet her. The boy believes her. The father remarries, has a child with his new wife, and leaves the boy to a lonely existence. He wants to see his mother again, so he enters an invention contest. But there was no words from mother, so he decides to kill somebody. Surely she'll come back if he finds himself enough trouble if he becomes a killer. Unfortunately, the plan is spoiled by a stupid classmate. Luckily, the victim takes revenge. And, to his delight, he finds out that he's sick. Surely she'll come if he's ill. But it turns out he isn't ill, that is. So he uses a girl, a classmate, to try to forget his troubles, but when she calls him a mama's boy, he kills her. Finally, he decides to go visit his mother. But before you can see her, he meets her new husband and learns that she is pregnant. It suddenly dawns on him that he is really and truly abandoned, and he decides to take revenge on his mother. I know you skipped some of the details, but I think that's the general drift. And for the final act, you planted the bomb. Are you a complete idiot? You use that word about everyone and everything in your love letter, but what do you think that makes you? What have you ever really created? What have you ever done for any of those people you look down on? Any of your idiots? You said you didn't think your own father deserved to live, but who do you think gave you life in the first place? Yet you seem incapable of understanding that fact that you think that just because you get good grades in school, you are some sort of anointed being. But you are wrong. You are the most deluded of all, the biggest idiot I've ever met. That sort of person who killed my Manami, who snatched my precious girl from me. So I read your little postings and I decided to have my revenge. But I'm embarrassed to say that I have been a little vague. I should probably explain what I've been up to, beginning with my speech on the last day of school. It's true that I collected blood from my husband, Sakuranomi, that morning while he was still asleep. I brought it to school. The milk was delivered at 9 o'clock and put in a refrigerator next to the office. I left in the middle of the assembly and used a syringe to inject some of the blood in the cartons destined for Yokabi and Shitamura's. I even managed to find a spot on the crease where you wouldn't notice a tiny hole. Then, when you're done with the milk, I gave my speech. I knew how cruel your classmates could be, so I wanted to throw you to the wolves, so to speak. You see, adults are bound by rules and would protect you no matter how evil they knew you to be. I never had any illusions about my chances of giving you AIDS. As you realize later, the transmission rate from a little joker like mine is extremely low. But as long as the chances aren't zero, I feel as though I have meted out a proper punishment. And I thought I was finished with the whole thing. Not that my feelings had changed. I knew you would live with the fear of AIDS for a time and that your classmates would make you miserable, but that wasn't going to cheer me up. No form of revenge could have made me hate you any less. If I could, if I had cut the two of you to shreds with knife, I think I would have hated the little pieces of you just the same. I realized that revenge was never going to wash away away what happened, never going to make me stop hating you with every ounce of my being. Yet, I believe I could force myself to put a stop to all this. I would never forget Manami, but I had no intention of spending the rest of my life dealing with children like you. My time with Sakura no Mi was coming to an end, and when he was gone, I intended to make a fresh start. I never thought much about what I could do to help others, but I was determined to do so in my new life. A month later, in April, when he knew he was dying, my husband told me something shocking. He said he was sorry he had never been able to make me happy, but he had at least wanted to be sure he wasn't leaving me behind to scandal and jail, so he spoiled my revenge. He had felt me drawing his blood that morning, and had realized I was planning something. He had followed me to school and seen me putting blood in the cartons. Horrified, he had waited until I had gone and replaced the cartons with new ones. He said he knew I might never forgive him, but that it was wrong to repay evil with evil, that revenge would never make me feel any better. Even more importantly, he was convinced that you boys could be rehabilitated, made whole again, and he wanted me to believe it too. He said I had to believe if I was ever to be whole again myself. Those were his last words. That we should not seek revenge even though someone had murdered our child. That the children who had killed Manami could be rehabilitated. I suppose if anyone ever deserved to be called a saint, he did. Which, according to your logic, would mean his mother must have been reading him fairy tales from the time he was a baby, but she wasn't. I doubt you ever bothered to look at the article about him that was posted in the back of the class. But his mother died soon after he was born. When his father remarried, he was in 5th grade, just as you were when your father remarried. Unlike you, he wasn't a model student and couldn't get along with his stepmother, so he was constantly running away from home. His life after that was nothing to be proud of, and I'm sure he would have been on your list of idiots had you run into him all along the way. And yet, a man like that wanted to save your life. You may be right when you say that our sense of right and wrong is just something we pick up as children in school. Sakura no Mi didn't learn many of those simple lessons until he was almost an adult, when he realized he had somehow missed out and felt that he had to catch up to make himself whole. You are like him in that too. You somehow miss out on the basic sense of good and evil, and you even know it. But instead of trying to solve the problem, you act as though it's somehow cool to be bad. Or you blame your mother for making you that way. Or perhaps you were afraid that by changing your behavior, you would somehow be cutting ties with that absent mother, that bad girl you wanted so much and wanted to be like. So you refused to change. But none of that matters now. I was never able to accept what Sakura no Mi had done. I could never forgive him for insisting he was thinking about my happiness by acting like a teacher rather than a father until the end. But And it goes without saying that I can never forgive you boys despite his desire to protect you. But revenge is a subtle thing, and I wasn't able to hit upon a new plan right away. So I decided to bide my time and see how things develop. Whether Sensei, Yoshiteru Terada, has kept me informed about everything that has happened since I left school. He was actually a student of Sakura Nomi's. Since we overlap a year, I remembered him quite clearly. He wasn't one of the more troubled boys in Sakura Nomi's circle, but he did seem to idolize his teacher more than any of the others. So when he heard his hero try cigarettes in the middle school, he started smoking himself, though mostly just cough. And when the story went around, Sakura Nomi had drawn graffiti on the car of a particularly cruel teacher, Wada tried that as well. Imitation was always getting him into trouble, but that meant he was unusually impressionable and thus quite useful for my purposes. When Sakura Nomi died, I was able to convince the media not to publish the time or place of his funeral. They seemed to buy the argument that such an admired teacher needed to live on forever in the hearts of his students. But Terada managed to find out and came to the service. He said he needed to make recompense for all the trouble he had caused his teacher. And while I was sick to death of platitudes, I could hardly turn him away. After the funeral, he knelt down in front of the memorial tablet and began apologizing for all of his past offenses. I suspect that even Sakura Nomi would have found the display distasteful, but I did learn something useful from his confession. He said that he felt it was his duty to carry on Sakura Nomi's work, that he had decided to become a teacher, that he has started to work at S Middle School in April at the beginning of a new school year. I told him that I had taught at the same school until March at the end of the previous year. I asked him how things were going. That was when he said he had taken over as a homeroom teacher for the B class. I suppose some things are just fated. He didn't seem to know I had been the homeroom teacher before him, so I asked about the class without telling him. He said one problem was a student who had stopped coming to school, a boy named Shitamura. As I listened to Terada's account, I could tell that Shitamura believed that he had contracted the virus and had not told his mother. It seems a bit odd in this case, but I knew there were children could be hidden walls between mothers and their children, and I began to think how I could make use of this situation. In other words, I began to plan how I could drive Shitamura even further into his little corner. I offered Terada timely advice, suggesting that it was what Sakura Nomi might have done in a similar situation. Sakura Nomi would have gone to the boy's home and he would have taken another student with him. At times, Werther seemed a bit skeptical, but I knew he would eventually come around and that when he did, he would be utterly persistent. He would insist on going every single week, and when he was turned away at the door, he would call out from the street. I could foresee everything. I told him I would be happy to give him advice whenever he needed it, and that I would keep his confidences. And he must have felt that he couldn't discuss any of this with his colleagues at school, since he was constantly sending me emails to ask for my opinions. I don't think anyone should accuse him of being reckless in his dealings with Shitamura, since he was regularly in touch with the previous homeroom teacher. He even asked me what to do when you are being bullied. He said he wanted to put a stop to it, but I told him that rather than doing it himself, it would be more effective to have one of the other students confront the bullies. That way, the class could identify the problem as a whole. I had been hoping to intensify the attacks against you, but in the end, the situation got twisted around. As so much with Terada always does, and poor Kitahara-san suffered the brunt of their cruelty. This is one regret. This is one thing I truly regret. I suppose if she hadn't been caught up with all this, you would never have killed her, and I am terribly sorry. But whenever I feel guilty, I am immediately reminded that you boys are ultimately to blame. None of this is my fault. You killed Kitahara-san. She hit too close to home with the words mother complex, and you murdered her in a blind fury. What did you call it? Murder as its own reward. What does it mean? The word games of an idiot. While I was just sitting back and watching the two of you, Shitamura killed his mother. I can't imagine what happened between them, and even if I wouldn't pretend to understand. But the one thing I can say with certainty is that Shitamura would never have killed his mother if he hadn't killed Manami in the first place. So in the end, I have no sympathy whatsoever for the boy or his mother. In her case, it was her reward for raising him the way she did. Despite Sakuranomi's interference, I felt that my revenge against Shitamura was complete, which just left you, as you have said yourself. While it was Shitamura who actually killed Manami, she wouldn't have died if it had not been your stupid plan. I wanted to see you both suffer and die, but if I were forced to decide which of you I hated more, it would be you. I would have been perfectly content had your classmate killed you during their brutal games, but my hopes were dashed when Terada reported that he had solved the bullying problem. He seemed so happy with himself, and he thanked me for the advice I had given him. He was amazed that the threat of infection had actually turned out to be useful in keeping other children at bay, something he might have realized from the beginning. Be that as it may, I could see now that I would have to take matters into my own hand. Still, I was quite certain that you would never feel sorry for what you have done to Manami, even as the life was being choked out of you. So what's the point? I needed to find your weakness. Though it seemed futile, I checked your website daily, but there was no postings about the news of your theft prevention purse. Still, the lack of update was a clue in itself. Since I knew you despise useless things, why had you not shut down the site? I had all but given up on the speedy revenge and resigned myself to watching and waiting. If it took forever, I would discover something you love and then destroy it. But just at that point, you returned to your site. Thanks to your love letter to your mama, I was able to learn a good bit about your unhappy childhood. I even began to think about the things might, and I emphasize might, have turned out differently if I had been more supportive when you brought me your purse. I almost felt sorry for what I had said. Almost. Fortunately, I came to my senses. I realized that a lot of nonsense. You said it yourself, the wallet was meant as a trap. You wanted to shock someone, that's why you made it. Why should I be supportive of that? The notion that you wanted my attention and praise is just the delusion of a spoiled child. What you wanted was a chance to show off. You ignored the opportunity to make something worthwhile and chose instead to create a useless toy to impress people. Who would find that praiseworthy? You should have been content to play with the purse yourself. You refuse to see value in any human being except your mother, and you have to live with the person that has made you. You can't blame your crimes on someone else. They are your own responsibility. But if fault is to find Elsewhere, the only person to blame would be your mother, a woman who raised her hand against a child who couldn't meet her expectations, who denied that a child a place in her heart, and who ran off to fulfill her own dreams, leaving behind a boy with an unrequited love. In that sense, in your tremendous egotism, you and your mother truly are alike. So you planted the bomb to take revenge on your mother? You were going to get back at her by killing lots of innocent people. It was the same with Manami. You have no feelings for anyone but your mother, yet you hurt everyone except her. If there's no one else in your little world but you and your mother, then I encourage you to kill her and leave the rest of us alone. But you won't. You are too much of a coward. Which is why I can't allow you to go on talking big and hurting innocent people. The police will be arriving at school soon, and they'll find Kitahara-san's body before long. Once you have been arrested, they make the connection between you and Shitamura, and the truth about Manami's death will come out. Still, I worry the punishment you receive may not be sufficient. Then, too, a bright boy like you will be able to convince them that you have reformed. You might soon be back in the society, your past expunged, ready to embark on a glittering future. But before all that, I have just one more thing to tell you. After I read your love letter and disarmed the bomb, I went to see someone. I suppose I was feeling a certain amount of sympathy for you. And it could be that I wanted one more chance to think about what Sakura no Mi had told me. You might even say that I realized that some part of the responsibility of Manami's death lay with me. At any rate, I went looking for the person you have been longing to see for all these years. And it turned out to be the simplest thing to find her. First, I showed her your website, your sweet love letter. Then I told her about Shitamura and what the two of you have done to Manami. Do you want to know what she said? Sorry, I couldn't make that out. It's a bit noisy. Can you hear the sirens and all the shouting? You see, I didn't just disarm your bomb. I reset it somewhere else. Then I prayed that you wouldn't press the switch to detonate it. But of course you did. It wasn't a dud, you know. I'm not sure how big an explosion you thought it would cause, but I can tell you it was impressive. Enough to blow away the better part of a reinforced concrete building. Fortunately, I had every faith in your ability and was waiting at a safe distance. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here to make this call. The bomb went off in the laboratory tree in the electrical engineering department at K University. Your bomb detonated by your own hand. Funny. I think I have finally had my fill of revenge now. And with luck, I have at last started you out on the road to your own recovery. That is the end of Confessions by Minato Kanae. Yeah, it's pretty dark. Welcome, Reckless Abandon. Yes, we are done with Minato Kanae's Confessions. It's a pretty dark book, very intense. I hope I gave a good performance on that last chapter. I'm going to choose a lighter book next. I promise I'll choose a lighter book next. Oh my god. Guys, watch the movie. Confessions. 2010. It's a 2010 movie. But it's very, very fucking good. STDs and death. Hell yeah, man. You didn't even... Yeah, and you only read the last chapter. So, Reckless Abandon, if it is the first time you are in my channel, I do book readings. And if you have missed most of Confessions by Minato Kanae, please go to my videos section and find the previous VODs on them. Or, if you're into reading yourself, buy the book and read the book yourself. It's really, 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 really good. This is definitely one of the best book I've ever read in my lifetime. One of the best. Really greatly written. And you know what's shocking? Let me read you the about the author section of the book, okay? Kanae Minato is a former home economics teacher and housewife who wrote Confessions, her first novel, between household chores. Can you imagine the amount of talent this writer must have had to write a book in between household chores? The book has sold more than 3 million copies in Japan, where it won several literary awards including the Radio Drama Award, the Detective Novel Prize for New Writers, and the National Bestsellers Award, and was adapted into an Oscar shortlisted film directed by Tetsuya Nakashima. Yeah, exactly. Inspiration when you are like, you know, your kid's being a fucking idiot and you're like, oh my god, like, I hope my kid won't grow up to be a murderer because he's so stupid. You know? Yes, definitely. There's definitely... Yes, there's a movie. Watch the movie. Guys, seriously. It's really good. I wouldn't have bought this book if I didn't watch the movie. The movie was on my list since forever. Like, it came out when I was... Yeah, just a little FYI. It came out around the time when I was a journalist, and I used to write movie reviews. Confessions. So I didn't watch the movie back then, but it's always been on my list of watch lists, and it took me like 12 years to watch the movie, and I finally watched the movie and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. I watched the movie. Next thing I did was I went to online shopping and bought the book. I read to you guys. And you know what? I would say both the book and the movie are like just 11 out of 10. So fucking good. Like, okay, the movie is really good because the cinematography is good, the storytelling is good, the story itself is good, of course, obviously, but the direction is very good, the acting is fucking amazing. It's very hard to get good acting from children, but the acting was, especially Japanese acting can be a bit over the top, but it was really good. The acting was really good in that. But once you finish watching the movie, it's either you pick up the book yourself and read it, because there's so much more information and character building behind, like a lot of like internal monologues and stuff that's like skipped through in the movie, because there's just no way you can put everything into a movie, right? So the book consists a lot of that, basically. So watch the movie, read the book. If you don't want to read the book, go to my VODs and listen to me read it. I can't guarantee I do a good reading because I stumble on words a lot, but the overall consensus that I can give to this book, and this is definitely one of the best experiences I ever had on Noodible. I'm really happy, because there were some books in the past that when I read, I almost fell asleep because it's just not my type of thing. But I don't want to like deprive myself from like reading different types of books. But this is so good. This is amazing. This book is amazing. I would never give this book to anyone. I think I will borrow it to my friend, who is also a bookworm like I am. I think she will really enjoy this. Yes, I mainly read Japanese author books because I'm a weeb. That's all I can say. No, it's just that I think that there are a lot of Japanese writers who okay, just so you know, right? I know when people talk about Japanese writers, they think about Haruki Murakami. I fucking hate Murakami. If you like Murakami, I'm sorry. I hate Murakami. I hate his style. I hate how self-absorbed he is. His books, Murakami's novels, are just a way for him to show off what kind of wine he likes, what kind of jazz music he likes. He's the way he writes is just to show off himself, not to tell a story. I was never into the stories that he was telling. He's so bad at writing female characters. His female characters are always like some kind of like damsel in distress that needed like, or mentally ill that needed to be helped or like saved or like healed, or like and it's very often a lot of sex involved, and it's like, oh, basically that guy's dick is going to cure this girl's mental illness kind of like deal. I fucking hate Murakami, man. I really hate Murakami, like with every inch of my soul. I mean, I shouldn't put so much energy into hating a writer, but I just hate the idea that everyone idolizes him so much, but there are so many good writers in Japan. There are so many good writers in Japan. There is just not just Murakami. Murakami is so fucking overrated. Seriously, I just hate the idea that he is like, you know what? I'm so happy because my other favorite author is Kazuo Ishiguro. He's more British than Japanese, to be honest, because he moved to England when he was 5 and stayed there since. Nah, can never communicate with Yoshi-P. And yeah, I was saying, I was so happy that Kazuo Ishiguro got the Nobel Peace Prize for Literature before Murakami did, because everyone was like, oh, how come Murakami hasn't gotten the Nobel Peace Prize in Literature yet, because he has been like so good at writing. I was like, no, his writing is just to show off. Like Murakami is like an incel who doesn't know what a woman is, even though he's married. I don't even know if he has children. He's just weird. Like, Murakami is just a weirdo who doesn't know what a woman is. It's very weird. I don't like his style of writing. On the other hand, Kazuo Ishiguro, well, I really love it when a writer, especially a male writer, can write female characters very well. That's why I like Miyazaki, Ghibli films. Ghibli films main characters are always girls or young women or women in general, and they are always very, very fucking good. Like very well written girl characters, strong, independent, all that. What is MCP? What is MCP? Explain to me what is MCP. Anyways, yes. I just really do not like Murakami. So, I will never read Haruki Murakami's book in Noodibles. But I will pick a lighter book. I hope it's more light-hearted, but I don't know yet because they are new books to me as well. I have plans to go back to reading Kazuo Ishiguro books and also Natsume Soseki's books, who are my top two Japanese authors. But for now, I have three books that three new books that I have not yet read. Basically, male chauvinist perspective. Yes, basically, yes, male chauvinist. That's a very good. That's a fucking good way to describe fucking Murakami. He's like, yeah, super MCP. I learned a new term today. Thank you so much, Reckless Abandon, for teaching me. Yeah, everyone is a Discworld fan. I've never read anything from the Discworld. Maybe I should, but like I said, I'm a weeb. I mainly read Japanese authors. Like I like to find like Leslie known, like not so well known authors writings, books. So the other day I read Lonely Castle in the Sky. It was okay. It involved a lot of like time, like um, it's okay. Lonely Castle in the Sky is in the mirror. Sorry, not sky. Lonely Castle in the Mirror. It was okay. I almost fell asleep a lot. Like, to be honest, I almost fell asleep like a lot of times during that book. It was just way too boring for me. The prose is not that great. The writing is okay. The story is predictable. And then there was the Before the Coffee Gets Cold, that was about time traveling. Also very predictable. My issue with that one is because it's written by a playwright, so it doesn't read like a novel. It reads like a stage play, a screenplay basically. So it wasn't very good writing. It's okay story, not great writing basically. Okay, guys. Maybe this time I'll let you guys choose. I have 3 books in front of me. I don't know if I could do any sort of like poll. Let me check. I'm not good at Twitch. No. Is there any like? Okay. Let me see. Okay. Hang on. I know what you guys will choose. But I'm just gonna do a poll just for the heck of it. I do a five minutes poll. Is 5 minutes too long? I do 3 minutes. Okay, there you go. Choose, people. Please, there are 9 of you in this channel right now. Please choose. If it's 0, I'm just. It's 3 minutes long. Please choose. There's nobody choosing. Oh my god. Oh god, guys, come on. Please. Yeah. No context, no context. Just choose the one that you think you want to read. You might be interested. That there's no context. You don't have to go Google it or anything. Just choose the one that. Yep. I already. Ooh!
Stretch.
I'm surprised. Nobody got the cats one yet. You can also re-vote. You can also add additional vote, but you need to spend Banana points. Oh my god. I'm surprised nobody chose the cat one yet. Oh my god, guys. Ah, interesting. Oh, finally one chose the cat one. Hell yeah. Oh, 3 with the sweet bean paste. Damn, son. I'm liking this. I'm enjoying this so far. Oh. The cat sounds like a bait. Damn. Oh, it's ending soon. We already. Oh, vote. Fight for the one that you want, guys. I'll let you guys do it this time. I think we already have a winner. It's like less than 1 minute left. You can add more votes if you want the book that you want to win. But it's we already have a winner, I think. Come on, there's like 10 of you here only. Oh, there you go. You got a winner, sweet bean paste. It could also be a bait though. Why would Tokyo? If you look at the you know why I bought this Tokyo Ueno Station book is I went out one day, which is very rare of me. I don't really go out. I went out one day and then I saw a bookstore that I used to always hang out in that bookstore a lot. Like when I was a normal human being. I'm not that normal after all. I would spend like hours in that bookstore just to look at books, basically. I like the smell of like, bookstore and like books. And you know what kind of smell I like the most? Glue. No, just kidding. No, I like the smell of secondhand bookstore. Like the musty old book. like, you know, there's a silverback somewhere along the line. But yeah. So how I went in to buy Tokyo Ueno Station is that I just went to the store and I told myself I'm going to the Asian literature corner and find a book that is alone, all by itself, like the last copy of the book. I will buy it. If there are two last copy of the book, I'll buy two books basically. So I went in, I take a look. There are a fuck ton of Murakami. I hate it. I wish I could burn the shelf. But I saw Tokyo Ueno Station by Yu Miri. The cover is actually very colorful and nice. It's not a horror. As far as I know, it's not a horror movie, but a horror book. But who knows? Ha 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 ha. We'll see when I read it, right? The cat who saved the books is just because I like the cover of the book. And also cat. Yes, rubber cement smell is the best. I'm addicted to it because I used to live on when I was a child. I used to live on a 2-story shop house, and I live above a shoe factory. So whenever I smell shoe glue, I guess the glue that like they used to glue your soles on. Whenever I smell that, it just reminds me of my childhood. And the last time I smelled that is when I worked in an office and we moved office, and they were using the same type of glue to glue on the carpet onto the cement floor. So when I smelled that, it just brought me back to my childhood. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, getting high as a child. That's exactly what I need. I just need to buy some rubber cement right now to get high, basically. It's great. But yeah, the cat who saved books is not, it looks okay. Like before I buy them, I check their ratings on Goodreads. But then, right, I realized that ratings doesn't matter. Because ratings for fucking Murakami's book is high as fuck and I hate them. So it's really just about what you like as a person. So yeah. When you go watch a movie, watch it because you're interested in it, not because someone tells you that it's good. Which is the same as me telling you to go watch Confession. Sweet Bean Paste is apparently a very charming book. It's yeah. So yeah, exactly. So I hate Murakami. That's the lesson for today. And yes, so our next book will be indeed Sweet Bean Paste. I don't know if I want to read any of the. I think I'm gonna skip reading any of the like description of the book. You guys can Google it if you guys are curious, but I am not gonna do that. Because I always feel like reading the description of the book sometimes can steer your mind somehow and somewhat. But the interesting about this book is that the author's pseudonym, I guess, his name is Durian Sukegawa. Namafel! Oh my god! You lurk? Thank you for lurking, but do give me a follow. fucking shameless. Guys, please, I just want 124. Oh, thank you. Oh my god, having Namafel follow me? Jesus Christ. I'm now living the high life, bruh. Oh my god, thank you. You know, every time someone follow me, there's someone unfollowing me. So I always have to change my followers list. But I hope this time it won't change. I just no, Namafel, no, no, don't leave me, Namafel. Namafel, I wanted to follow you on the tour that day, but I was so busy with work that I know it's a Sunday, but I was so busy with work that I couldn't join. And then by the time I finished and you guys already started, and I was like, it was sad and depressing. Oh, but it's okay. Man, you guys should have like come in here earlier, like from the beginning. Private tour? Oh hell yeah, bitch. So just kidding. So my god, you guys. Why there's so many viewers? Like, you guys, the book has ended, but thank you for being here. What you guys want to talk about? Okay. There's like a lot of people somehow. Welcome to my stream. I am Ariana Nuna. I am a very elegant looking. Hey, King TC, I haven't seen you. Oh my god. Thank you, Narian, for the follow. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh my god. Why there's so many people suddenly? Wait, did I close my... I should close my party finder, because it's not... I'm not reading book anymore, guys. There's no more books, but welcome to my channel. Okay, I am Ariana Nuna. I'm an Alazan in game. That's why, cause I'm racist as fuck. No, don't go, Narian. I'm just introducing myself. At least stay until my introduction is over. Nuna's love story. My love story. I met... Wait, don't worry, I'll be right. So fucking Namafel. Oh shit! Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll open it again just for your sake. Hang on. Okay. Just yeah, you're raiding in daytime, so you can't stream much this current time, but I beat the raid. Hell yeah, King TC! Hell yeah! That's awesome! Anyways, yes, I'm Mariana Nuna. I'm a Das White Ellison because I'm racist. I like to read books. That's why I am a summoner main and also a scholar main for healer. I have a main for each category, right? So for like mage, I'm a summoner main. For healer, I'm a scholar main. For melee, I'm a ninja main. For tank, I am a warrior main. Yeah. So I have a main for all category basically, and I would say that I'm quite adept in most of my main, but I like to read. I like to read books. I like to read books to people. I like to make new friends from reading. I I would like people to be more interested in literature, because I feel like people should read more. Luna's love story. Luna's love story. Can't reveal that much, but I am in game married to Ch6. We are in a little small company called Zombie Jank. It's just mostly our our Strudel isn't there, but Strudel has been. Oh, Strudel hasn't been in online for 69 days. Nice. Hey, you made it, Nyan Nyan. Aww. Wait, sorry. Not party. Friend request. You made it, and now I can close the party finder. And thank you so much for being here with us. Okay, so what I do is I read books to people. Audible. So Audible is an app or something that you listen to people read book to you instead of you reading it yourself. I had this activity called Noodible, which is a play on words on Audible with my name, Ariana Nuna. Nobody really called me Ariana or Aria. People just call me Nuna because I think it's more catchy that way. And also, apparently, Nuna meant elder sister in Korean, which I didn't know when I was making my name. Now everyone thinks that I'm a Korea boo, but I'm actually more of a weeb. Introduction. Love story. Nuna's love story is I met a guy on the internet because I don't go out. And I am engaged in real life. What do you mean, oh no? But that's all I can review right now, okay, guys? But in game, I'm married to Ch6, who also has his own channel that he might stream one day. So go check it out, guys. But yeah, I mean, yeah, thanks for the congratulations, but I'm not seeing anything in. I mean, never mind. Don't care what I say. Anyways. Okay. AMA. Ask me anything. For the next 10 minutes, I'll answer everything. In all truth, honesty. You can ask me anything. You can ask me for advice. You can ask me about myself. You can ask me about anything at all. About game, about non-game, anything. Go ahead. 10 minutes. Go! I have a timer on. Seriously have a timer on. Not even kidding. In-game love story? I don't cat or dog. Cat. Because they are very independent but also very, very affectionate. People who say that cats are not affectionate or asshole never own a cat. In-game love story? I don't RP, so there is no in-game love story. We just got married because I forced him to get married with me. Novel or classic? What do you mean by that? Novel or classic? Novel or classic? What do you mean? In what sense? I like to read novels, but I'm not very creative in RP. I don't really know how to create a character. Novel or classic? Can you explain to me, Namafel? I don't know what I'm talking about. Cereal first. People who pour the milk first are psychopaths. Novel or classic? I guess I'll say novel. This is fun. White chocolate. Okay. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna rant. Dark chocolate, 100%. I'm gonna pause my timer because I'm gonna rant about this. White chocolate is not chocolate. White chocolate is just the fats from the chocolate. So you're just eating the fats from the chocolate. So it's like fats flavored chocolate. No, sorry. Chocolate flavored fat. So why would you like? And the weirdest fucking thing is that sometimes white chocolate. Time to unfollow. Sometimes white chocolate is more expensive than dark chocolate or even milk chocolate. So why would you pay so much for the fats of the chocolate that's like mildly flavored of chocolate? That's just fucking stupid, bruh. Yeah, always milk first then cereal. Wait. Always cereal first then. And though, it's okay. You are a psychopath. And that's fine. I accept you as you are. Even though you are a psychopath. I'm a psychopath too in different ways. Okay, back to the timer. Prepare your questions, okay? Teo, kopio with crackers. Kopio. No questions about it. Teo is so stupid. They without like. They without. How do I? Okay, pause. Teo tastes like nothing. At least kopio tastes like something, you know. Teo is like fucking stupid drink, man. Coke or Pepsi? Coke. Aww, not my phone. No. You can still listen, right? I'm trying to hold everyone hostage. Sprite. Bye. I'll see you next time. Please come back. Sprite. 100% Sprite. Yeah, I should do some ocean fishing. I'll do it later. Timer is running on 6 minutes, guys. Quick fire questions. Come on. Long hair. Long hair looks good on both guys and girls. I'm very into guys with long hair. Pickles, yes. I eat the pickles. Five minutes and a half. Favorite cuisine? No questions asked. Japanese food, no matter what they are. Even natto. I love natto. I'll eat anything Japanese food. Like, you offer me Japanese food, I'll eat it. I'll eat natto. I'll eat the fish eye. Whatever it is. Less than 5 minutes to go. That depends. Let me pause when I'm going through some thinking. Cafe or bars? I like the environment of bars where everyone tend to be a lot more relaxed because alcohol. Alcohol makes people relax and tend to be more outgoing, and they tend to chat more. And I like talking to people, so I like going to bars, and like I imagine going to bars and just like drinking and getting to know people, um, sharing thoughts about different kind of drinks and recommending drinks to each other. Cafe is I like coffee, but I don't see much point in going to cafe because I make my own coffee at home. Um, and cafe is very often overpriced and filled with a lot of pretentious people that I do not enjoy talking to. And cafe are usually filled with influencers or wannabe influencers who are there solely to take photo of the place of themselves with their boobs out. So I think after this deliberation, I would say I prefer bars, even though my experiences to bars are not a lot. Okay, next. Timer continues now. Alcohol, drinking at home or drinking outside? I love drinking at home with friends because it's safe. If I'm a guy, I would love to go drink outside more. But because I'm a girl, obviously, unless I'm using a voice tuner, you won't know. Ha ha ha. I could be using a voice tuner. I'm a guy in real life. Hmm? Have you ever thought about it? I could be using a voice tuner right now. Um, yeah. So I prefer to drink at home with friends, close friends that I can trust, I guess. But the idea of going outside to drink with other people is not bad as well. It's a good way to meet new people, hang out and stuff. Less than 4 minutes left. Next question お願いします。Nature? Oh shit, I can't. Wait, hang on, pause. Oh my god, I paused right at 3:11. I like nature. I like trees. I like being surrounded by greens. I grew up in a small town with a lot of greens. But at the same time, I can't live without technology, so it's a terrible fucking. No, Luna Oppa. I can't choose really. It's so hard. Like I would love for me to like be living in some. I don't know. I think technology. Like if you really think about it, if you really really think about it, if I really really think about it, I think I'm okay. Okay guys, listen. Life is short. I know people think about like, oh, we can't live without nature because our future generation will be fucked without all the trees around us. So we should slow down our technology to like preserve like fucking trees and all that stuff. But guys, listen. Life is short. You live your life once. You're probably gonna die tomorrow, you won't know. I'm probably gonna die later, you won't know. Anything will happen. So at this split moment, I'm choosing technology because without technology, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So fuck nature, yes technology. Timer restarts now. Not Luna. Oppa? Yeah, I could be Oppa. I'm using a voice changer now. Will you guys believe it if I say that I'm using a voice changer? I could be an oppa. No, I can't live without tech. Definitely, I can't. Like I'm looking at my phone while look. Like, okay, I can tell you. Okay, I want to pause. I got like 2.5 minutes left. You know what I'm doing now? I have my phone open on Instagram. I'm like scrolling on Instagram while I'm in game. While I'm on Twitch live streaming while talking to you guys. There's no fucking way I can live without technology. I would fucking die. So, fuck nature. Like, global warming? Hell yeah. Well, am I using a voice changer? I don't know. Will you guys believe it if I say I do? I don't know. Find out next stream. Alright, timer starts again. 2.5 minutes left. Go on. Rapid fire questions. No more questions. Wait, hang on. Pause. 2 minutes left. Give me a second. I need to talk to my mother for a while. I'll be right back in about 1 minute. I'm back. Oh my god, you guys are still here. I have suspected that you guys might leave when I'm gone. I'm back. I'll add another minute to the time because I'm having fun. 3 minutes! 3 more minutes. Rapid fire question starts now. Okay, so I guess there's a question. Am I using a voice changer? No, I'm not using a voice changer. Unfortunately, this is my real life voice and I sound like shit. I think I sound like I'm half asleep most of the time. And I'm addicted to vapor rub. Fun fact. Oh, you want me to read a poem? Okay, I'll pause the ask me anything timer and I'll read you a poem. Okay, let me choose a book. Thank you. I do think that I sound stupid. because I don't have like those streamer girls voice, like that type of like fucking retarded. Sorry. Like streamer girl's voice. I don't have streamer girl's voice, okay? Like, you know. Like, yeah. So cute. That type of voice, I don't have it. Anyway, and you can choose from page 3 to page 83. Page 3 to page 83. Yeah, I'm tired. I had a rough night. Wasn't great. But you guys are making me happy right now. So I'm having fun right now. So don't worry about it. I'll be okay. Ando, please choose from page 3 to 83, please. Whoa! Cutting it close at 82, buddy. Let's see. Oh, 82 is a part of poem from 81. Okay. Poem is written by Carol Ann Duffy. The poem's title is Premonitions. We first met when your last breath cooled in my palm like an egg. You dead, and a thrush outside sang it was morning. I backed out of the room, feeling the flowers freshen and shine in my arms. The night before, we met again, to unsay unbearable farewells, to see our eyes brighten with restrung tears. Oh, I had my sudden wish, though I barely knew you, to stand at the door of your house, feeling my heartbeat calm, as they carried you in, home and healing. Then slow weeks, removing the wheelchair, the drugs, the oxygen mask and tank, the commode, the appointment cards, until it was summer again, until I saw you open the doors to the grace of your garden. Strange and beautiful to see, the flowers close to their own premonitions, the grass sweeten and cool and green, where a bee swooned backwards out of a rose. There you are, a glass of lemony wine in each hand, walking toward me always, your magnolia tree marrying itself to the May air. How you talked, and how I listened, spellbound, humble, daughterly to your tall tales, your wise words, the joy of your accent, un-English, dancey, humorous, watching your ash hair flare and redden, the loving litany of who we had been, making me place my hands in your warm hands, younger than mine now. Then time only the moon, and the balm of dusk, and you, my mother. You always pick a depressing one, somehow. Your cat is reacting very well to the poem that I just read. I'm very grateful. Okay. AMA timer, 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. Come on, baby, throw me questions. I'll claim anything, really. Tarot card, poems. I like poems. Poems or love quotes and poems and stuff. Who else is addicted to a single? Oh god. Tarot card. Alright. Alright, are you ready for me to predict your future? You die today. No, nothing. Just kidding. You die. You will die in the future. Life do be like that, yes. Zelont, you will die. So will I. Okay. Give me instructions as I asked for in the redemption. Is this your first time redeeming tarot card reading? Okay, so whether you ask a question or you choose the card of your day, a card that represents your day, so you choose that, or you, okay, so either you ask a question for this redemption, or it's the card of your day that represents your day, and then tell me how many times you want me to shuffle the card, and then pick from the top deck or pick through the intuitively through a spread. So you have to give me those instructions, cause I want it to be like I can't do it for you. You know, it's you have to be involved in the process of tarot card reading. No, I know that sounds stupid, but yeah. Okay. Card of the day, 13 times. Pick from top. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Your card of the day is... Whoa! Shit! Hell yeah, bitch! You got a major arcana. The moon. Mysterious. Something hidden. Something mysterious happening. Okay, the moon represents intuition, the unconscious, mystery, illusion, secrets. So you may or may not unveil some kind of a secret today, or you're becoming more aware of your surrounding today, probably. Or maybe it's telling you to be more aware of your surrounding today. Be aware of your surrounding. I think mostly, let me think. Moon is very in touch of your inner feelings, so maybe it's telling you to be more aware of your inner thoughts and your inner conflicts or inner feelings and try to sort it out. Be in touch of your instincts, I wouldn't say like the card is telling you to beware of someone or whatever. It's more like a struggle within yourself. The moon is something that is like, if it's something good, it's something good within yourself. If something bad, it's something bad within yourself. It's like it's not related to anything outside. The moon is very much your inner monologue. So, try to pay more attention to your instincts, your feelings, and your intuition today. Listen to your inner voice. Like if you encounter something today that requires you to make any sort of decision, try to zen out for a bit and try to listen to what you yourself are thinking inside, and try not to get influenced by outside factors. Try to think what you want, what you feel like, what your intuition is asking you to do instead of what other people is asking you to do, you know? So, yeah. The moon can also be asking you to look for something artistic to work on. Your inner voice could, yeah, then, and that is fine, Zelon, it's fine. Sleep is very good. I'm going back to sleep after this as well because I had a rough night. So, there are some quotes in here in the book that I'm looking at. I can share it with you guys. When looking for adventure in a dark and deserted landscape, we should ask only for the light of the moon. Then our imaginations can create more exotic explanations for the rustling in the undergrowth or the dark, bottomless voids which open up ahead of us. We comfort ourselves too much with light. Sometimes we must wander in the dark so that our other senses can find their full expression and we can hear more clearly the message of the night, the wilderness, and the strange creatures that inhabit the unseen spaces. A quote by Steve Roberts. I have no idea who he is, but sounds really good. It's fine. Go to sleep if you need. So that is your card of the day, the moon. Very good card. I like the moon a lot. But my favorite card is the Temperance. Which reminds me, I should get a tattoo of a temperance. I have so many tattoos that I want. It's crazy. You can go get medicine farm volunteers. Okay, Zelon, listen to me. Zelon. I know it's hard to hear this, but Zelon, it's a game. It's a game. You don't have to do anything. If you want to do something, you do it. If you want to gather materials, to farm, to do your craft, do it because you want to do it, not because you have to do it, because this is a game. You are supposed to have fun in a game. If you're not having fun in a game, then you're not doing it right. Yeah? Nah. You're a liar. Cats sleep with you when you sleep. I know mine does, at least. Mine's sleeping right there right now. My plan is just go lie beside him after this. Seriously, guys, don't take this game too seriously. The one problem that I found about the community is that some people take things too far or too seriously. I've encountered people like that, and it's not fun to be around those people. Like, I've known people who are like, I want to get 100 mount before Endwalker comes out. And the amount of stress that I can see in that person's, like, the way he behaved was insane. Like, why would you do that to yourself? It's just a game. If you're not having fun, you're not having fun. And when we were raiding, it became a job. That's why I stopped raiding altogether and just go with pugs, because I don't want it to be a job. I just want to play with my friends. That's all. So listen, guys, it's just a game. It's just a game. If you wanna RP in this game, go ahead, because I know that RPing is fun. Like, I don't get it. I don't really RP that much. This like reading books through Noodible is the only RP event that I do, and I'm very grateful and happy that you all do this with me and listen to me. I'm forever grateful for that, for this time that I've been spending with all of you. But at the same time, listen, it's a game. If one day you don't enjoy coming to this event anymore, I don't want to force you guys. I don't want you all to feel like you're obligated to come and listen to me read. I want you guys to come here to listen to me read because you want to listen to me read. You get what I mean? It's a game. Don't push yourself too hard in a game. It's not worth it. It's not worth your mental health. It's not worth anything. It's stupid. Yep. Question timer has less than 2 minutes left. You guys can continue asking me AMA, quick fire questions. You can ask for advice as well if you want. Why are there so many viewers? Hey viewers, nice to meet you. I am Ariana Nuna in Final Fantasy 14. You can call me Nuna or Arya. I don't really mind either way. I usually stream Final Fantasy 14, but I also stream Yakuza 6 on the weekend sometimes if I feel like it. If you haven't seen my Yakuza 6 streams, feel free to go to my video category and watch my previous VODs. They are really fun to watch. You can watch me scream my head off and lose my voice in the process, basically. Pretty cool. I'm going to play Stray as well. I plan to stream it, but maybe not today because I'm really tired today. I'm going to download the game today. I mean, install a game today, but I probably will stream Stray on Friday, maybe. Can't promise. I'm not doing more. Noodible will be next Monday. New Noodible on Sweet Beans will be on next Monday. My next streams coming up would be I think probably Friday I will stream Stray. Saturday I will try to stream Yakuza 6. Yep. Is my phone really loud? I'm wondering that. Oh! Goodbye! No more questions. Thank you so much for participating in my stream today. I really appreciate it. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate you guys attending the event and being here with me, and just overall spending time with me. That's why I don't mind morning that much, especially when I have Noodible, because you guys are here. And yeah. Thank you guys. I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's book, The End of Confessions by Minato Kanae, and my little chit chat afterwards. I'm very happy that Namafel made it here. Thank you for the follows, Namafel, Narinya, Redless Abandon. Thank you Zelon, thank you Ando for being here, thank you Mia for being here, Thank you for Exia for being here. So Exia was taking some screenshots. Thank you to King TC for dropping by. I'm not sure if he's still here. I'm pretty sure Neuro is lurking. Neuro is probably lurking somewhere. I'm not sure where, but Neuro, if you're here, say just wave, I guess. But yeah, thank you for being here, you guys. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you guys next time I stream. Please follow my Twitter. Twitter. Let me link my Twitter profile. Please follow me on Twitter. I will always announce when I go live. I do posters for Noodibles, especially, but other than that, other streams, I just go live straight away. So if you want to know when I go live, follow my Twitter. That would be the fastest way to get me to know when I go live. Or, I don't know how well like the notification for Twitch works, but yeah, if you guys don't like the Twitch like sending an email to your mailbox every time I go live, Twitter will be the best way to find out when I go live, basically. Thank you so much once again for being here with me. It's been a pleasure reading to you guys. I am Ariana Nona, and I will see you guys again next time I go live. I'm not sure, I can't promise you guys, but I will send you all off with my favorite song in the world. Have a great Hump Day Wednesday.
Have you ever had a dream that you could do skid you don't do skid you wanna don't do skid.
Goodbye. Bye. Have a great day.